Hey there. Have you ever been sitting in class, maybe staring out the window and just thought to yourself, why on earth am I learning this? I think we've all been there. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that whole process and look at the hidden architecture of education. We're going to find out who decides and how.
So, who does decide what you learn in school? It seems like it should be a simple question, right? But the answer? Well, it's this really fascinating puzzle. And it's a puzzle that involves you, the student, the society you live in, and even the subjects themselves. It's a whole system, and it's designed to shape not just what you know, but how you think.
You see, behind every single lesson plan, every textbook, every class you've ever taken, there's a master plan. It's called a curriculum. But for the longest time, making one was kind of messy. It was all over the place, really disorganized. There was no universal blueprint. That is, until one person came along and basically changed everything.
So, let's meet the main character of our story today, a guy named Ralph Tyler. Now, this is the person people often call the father of modern curriculum design. He's the one who looked at all the chaos and brought this brilliant sense of order to it.
The year was 1949. Tyler puts out this small but incredibly powerful book, and it introduces a framework that becomes known as the Tyler Rationale. Honestly, it was a total game changer. It gave educators a clear, logical system for building a curriculum, maybe for the very first time.
In this quote right here, it pretty much captures his entire philosophy. What Tyler was arguing is that before you can teach anything, before you even think about textbooks or activities, you have to have crystal clear goals. And not just any random goals, but goals that are deeply connected to what students actually need and what society is asking for.
So, how did he do it? How did he bring all that clarity? Well, he boiled the entire super complex process down to just 4 elegant and really powerful questions. You can think of it as the blueprint for building a great education right from the ground up.
And here they are. These are the 4 pillars of his entire model. First, you've got to define your purpose. Second, pick the right learning experiences to get you there. Third, organize those experiences in a way that makes sense. And fourth, you have to check if you actually succeeded. Simple, right? But also totally profound. Let's break them down one by one.
First things first, what is the point of all this? This question forces educators to stop and really define their destination before they even start the journey. What are we trying to do here? Are we trying to create critical thinkers, good citizens, highly skilled workers? You absolutely have to know your why.
Okay, so once you know your goal, the next question is, what's the best way to actually get there? This is all about picking the right content, the right projects, the right activities. I mean, think about it. If your goal is to teach collaboration, a 2-hour lecture probably isn't going to cut it, right? You need group projects. The experience has to match the purpose.
Next up is organization. This step is all about sequence and structure. It's just common sense, really. You don't try to learn calculus before you've mastered basic algebra. Tyler really emphasized organizing lessons so they build on each other, creating a coherent path for the student and reinforcing the big ideas along the way.
And finally, the reality check. How do we know if any of this is actually working? This is all about assessment. You know, tests, projects, observations, anything that measures whether students have truly reached the goals you set out way back in question 1. It completely closes the loop.
Okay, so we need clear goals. I get it. But that brings up another huge question, right? Where do these goals even come from? I mean, they don't just appear out of thin air. And Tyler had an answer for that. He identified 3 primary sources. He argued that the strongest, most meaningful goals come from a blend of these 3 things. First, you have to look at the learners themselves. What do they actually need, and what are they interested in? Second, you have to look at society. What skills does the world need right now, and what values do we as a community hold dear? And third, you look at the subject itself. What's absolutely fundamental to understanding history, or math, or science?
So, now you've gathered all these raw ideas from students, from society, from the subject experts. How do you refine them into truly great workable goals? Well, Tyler proposed a kind of quality control system. He used what he called 2 screens, or filters. The first screen is the psychological one. You ask, is this goal actually achievable for a student at this stage in their development? Is it learnable? The second screen is the philosophical one. Does this goal actually align with the core values of our school and our community? By running ideas through these 2 filters, you make sure the final goals are not just practical, but also truly meaningful.
And so, after passing through those screens, a great educational goal starts to take shape. According to Tyler, it should be super specific, so everyone knows what it means. It has to be measurable, so you can tell if you've hit the target. It's got to be realistic for the students. It should be aligned with the bigger picture, and it has to be flexible enough to work for different kinds of learners.
And this example just illustrates the difference perfectly. The goal to understand history is nice, I guess, but it's so vague. How do you even measure that? But to analyze the primary causes of a historical event, now that is a goal. It's specific, it's active, and you can absolutely design a lesson and a test around it. See the difference?
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, this all happened back in 1949. Is any of this really relevant today? And the answer to that is a huge, resounding yes. Its legacy is literally all around us in modern education.
The simple, logical power of Tyler's 4 questions is like the fundamental DNA for how schools and teachers plan lessons today. It brought a sense of clarity and purpose to the classroom that just wasn't there before, and its influence is still felt in how education is structured all across the globe.
So that brings us right back to you. Now that you know the secrets, how the architects of the classroom actually build their blueprints, just think about it for a second. If you could add one specific, measurable, and meaningful goal to your school's curriculum, what would it be and why?